I dropped my sauna right next to the dumpster, and behind the dumpster, now the dumpster's gated in so you don't see it, but I know it's there.
Yep.
And I'm like, okay, heretofore this was parking lot and the space behind the dumpster, and I turned it into a profit center where I use a multi-level healing modality in the middle of basically space that other people would put a shed.
Somebody wants to know me.
You're going to come in
like that
with some Smash Mouth?
Hey, welcome to Sauna Culture, you guys. So glad you are here. This is the show all about the wellness benefits, transformation, practice, and design of sauna. And we are telling the stories of people's lives getting transformed all over the world right here on the show. Hi, my name is Justin Jutnan, host, and I'm here with Sarah Olson, our producer and co-host. Sarah, how are you?
I'm great.
Awesome.
Doing great today.
And today we are hearing from Annette Scott. Annette is this amazing powerhouse of a person. I mean, top echelon of people.
Yeah. Top 5?
Top 5 people, right? I mean, just...
End of sentence.
End of sentence. She comes with so much wisdom. What would you describe this conversation?
Brutally honest, but
Yep.
like gentle and kind.
Yeah, it's a weird combo.
Yeah.
She's like, doesn't hold anything back and
Yeah.
also cares for you deeply. So a couple tears shed on this one.
A couple thousand. A lot.
This episode is Sarah's therapy session for a few weeks.
Honestly, I called my therapist. I was like, I'm canceling my session. Annette's here.
Literally, the work in this episode is sending... Sarah's like, I need to go spend some time with
Yes.
Annette in Tampa. Annette is the founder of Kodawari Studios in Tampa, Florida. Wellness facility there, massage, yoga, all like a whole bunch of modalities, including
Some
sauna.
cool cold plunge hot tub, or not hot tubs, cold tubs.
So amazing cold therapy stuff that they're doing. And we're just really excited for you to meet Annette and hear this conversation all about how her business is wrapped around transforming people's lives through all these different healing modalities, including hot and cold. So get buckled up, get the tissues out. It's going to be a good one. Here we go.
Get into it.
So here we go.
Here we go. Hey, Annette, welcome to Duluth. It is such a joy to have you here in person.
Thank you, Justin. And I am literally overwhelmed with joy. No joke.
You've been beaming since I saw you, and it's been fun to, like, we've spent a lot of time together. We spent a lot of time online and over the internet and getting to know each other over the past year plus. And when we installed your sauna last April, May
18th.
I got to come down and spend a week with you guys. And now, oh, what a joy to have you up here in the cold in Duluth. We sounded last night. We enjoyed it.
Surprise.
It's been awesome. For folks who don't know you, I mean, you are somebody who is a leader. You care about the sort of transformative parts of wellness. It's not just let's look good and go stretch a little bit and breathe. I mean, that, like, I want to kind of dive right in on your work is transformative and meaningful in all the modalities. How did you get into that?
I think it's best to really just admit that from a very early age, I internalized this idea of optimizing. Like, I wanted really at a young age, I thought, okay, how can I do this living thing in a way that is both easy and gratifying?
Yeah.
So this state of feeling gratitude early on, like, oh, this is easy just to be my best me, sounds a little hokey, but I literally was, I think, 6 or 7, and I was trying to figure out how to use the snow to make my skin glow, and I was keeping peach pits and thinking I was going to grind them and make them into some sort of face powder at like 8. And literally, that hasn't stopped. So what has also come on board is a pretty high degree of compassion and recognition for how hard it is to actually move toward an optimal state of radiant expression of humanity. And I use radiant more as not a visual, but a feeling state. And I always want to also put an asterisk or put a caveat on it that the radiance of humanity doesn't mean necessarily comfort, convenience, ease. In fact, it generally is almost counter to that because, and we could have a very long conversation about how, but to keep it brief, pretty much every human being that you're going to meet, I'm going to meet, has had at some point in their life conditional care. And what do I mean by that? I mean, your parents were tired. There were times that as a little kid, you needed more attention or a certain type of attention or some kindness around something that you didn't get, not because anyone was filled with malice or even that there was a level of necessarily a trauma experience. However, the end result is that we have built walls within ourselves against love, loving kindness from a place of fear or a sense of inadequacy or a challenge about how we are going to present who we are. Because when we were little, someone put a condition on, listen, Johnny, or listen, Janie, that's a lot for mommy right now. That's a lot for daddy or auntie or grandma or uncle or whomever was the caretaker. Like, I need you to tone it down, or I need you to go over here and basically stop.
Yeah.
And so healthcare, wellness, all the shiny titles that we put on the idea that we're moving toward authenticity and the expression of the fullness of who you are requires so much courage, gentle discipline, steady attention, things that are not easy to come by. And so there's a constant state of we've got to work in order to radiate out. And so for me, there's this tumbler lock mentality. Like for each person, what's going to unlock that authenticity, that radiance, that willingness to be like, this is who I am, this is how I am, and this is what I got coming. And to get out of the way of that, I got this is me coming out. Because I'm also of the opinion that the universe didn't create this incredible, unique expression of livinghood. I know it's not even a friggin' word, but I just made it because it fits. So this expression of the universe with awake, aware, open eyes is needed, or it wouldn't be this unique.
Yeah.
So I don't want to know where people are conforming. I don't want to know where you like found a way to fit in. I'm not interested because I actually think that that's usually you trying to rub the edges off your authentic self.
Yeah.
But all this working in to break down those barriers that we built so early on to survive is a lot of work. And so things like sauna, body work, breath work, personal development work, self-mastery. I'm going to use the word stoicism, but most people misunderstand stoicism as like, I'm shutting it all down and I'm just becoming a rock.
You mean like Marcus Aurelius, the Stoic philosophers, and living your life that way, right?
Yes.
Yeah.
So because that's our Western, we have a tradition of learning to understand that your emotions are incredibly variable, terribly important, not something you stuff or suppress, but you can't be dragged around by them either.
Yeah.
So they're part of the compass, but when I say that your emotions are part of the compass, you need to understand that there is a space and a place to honor, like, how do you feel?
Yeah.
And then there's a gap after that. There needs to be, humbly in my opinion, there needs to be a gap between this is what I feel, because sometimes what you feel is afraid. Sometimes what you feel is inadequate. You feel unworthy. You feel fucked up. You feel dirty, shameful, guilty. There's all these feeling states that need to be acknowledged and honored and worked with and reframed.
Yeah.
Because it's in the reframing that we can start to capture the whole of who we are, and we acknowledge where the conditional love came through, or just the conditions on acceptance and awareness, like, yeah, I know you're hungry for, and fill in the blank, and I only got so much food to give you.
Right. So like this, the way you're talking, some people could be arriving at this conversation. They heard the intro. This is Annette from Kodawari Studios, great wellness entrepreneur. And the way you're speaking now to me feels like therapy. Psychology feels like spiritual leadership or
neurobiology.
Right. Like you're talking at a level which is first formation, first principles for people, how that trauma or formation sets them up in the world to maybe succeed, but also put on a mask. Most often their success, they might look like they have it all together, but oh wow, is that a perfection complex, And so how does that tie into the work of being a massage therapist, being a yoga guide, teaching other yogis, guiding sauna? I mean, make that direct connection for people, how this sort of physical ties to this deeper work underneath.
So in my terminology, we're going to stop talking about the glitter that is the unicorn fart of healing and move into like the application. So,
because so often that's what it is. Like, oh, I got my New Year's resolution, or I want to look nice, or I go to this place to put on spandex and show off.
Some expensive shit too.
Right?
Yeah. Like a $400 yoga outfit, and suddenly you're like, I'm a yogi.
Yeah.
The application is in the slow but steady expansion of the working edge. And again, what do I mean by that? So in sauna, some of that is you come into a space that on purpose, you're going to meet yourself where you're like, wow, it's mild to wildly hot in here for me. And I'm going to honor that I am aware. Notice the feeling, be aware of the feeling state in the body. Like, wow, this feels a little risky. For some people, a lot of heat is a lot of heat. We can talk about it metaphorically and physically. And you go into that, not only for the physical benefits, we can pull in Joe Rogan and Dr. Rhonda Patrick and all kinds of PubMed science reviews about what happens in the physical body, but the emotional and the mental, and if we allow for the aspect of the spiritual also, is like, wow, I'm uncomfortable right now. Can I manage staying present while I'm uncomfortable? Or do I always, the minute I'm uncomfortable, cut and run?
Yeah.
Move out of that.
Yeah.
Oh, I can't, why should I be uncomfortable? Because there's a winner chicken dinner afterglow that happens when you learn to manage your discomfort and cultivate concurrently the ability to stay here now. Because a lot of times the things that are uncomfortable are things like, and I'm going to pull right out of Brene Brown's books. Courage happens in discomfort.
Yep.
Vulnerability happens in discomfort.
Yep.
Love and loving kindness happens in discomfort. It's awkward to eye gaze with somebody and be like, man, I see you. And you're a little funky and weird and wonderful. And I want you to know I love you. And like, if you're having a hard time, I'm not going to check out. That's discomfort, courage, and vulnerability all wrapped up in one. And you get to practice that in your physical being before you have to practice it in your energetic being when you walk into the hospital to see your dad.
Yeah.
Or you walk into a boardroom and you want to tell people we're not going to make the profit line that we thought we were, but here's what we're going to do. Or I have to sort of lay it down with my kids, like we're getting a divorce.
Yeah.
these are heated moments in our lives. And if you don't know how to manage yourself in the heat, you miss the opportunity to be present and to take care of business in a way that leaves you with a sense of sovereignty, authenticity, integrity, commitment to yourself. But that shit's got to be cultivated.
Yeah. It's so common for us to sort of feel that, okay, I could be vulnerable here, but the lie I'm hearing is they are going to distance themselves from me when I am vulnerable. I'm going to tell them the real stuff. And then I'm worried because I had that experience when I was a kid that somebody's going to
push back, push away, shun, down.
Shame, distance. In my experience, when we are vulnerable in front of other people, they like to lean in.
Super.
And they are with you and they draw near. I mean, that's one of the thesis statement of Brene Brown's work, right? That like, hey, it is so worth it. It takes all the courage in the world. It's super hard. It doesn't get easy. But if you want deep, authentic relationship, do it.
You want connection? Mm-hmm. Let people see where you think like it's a mess, chaos, a little chaos, where it's not cleaned up, where it's not linear, where it doesn't make sense. What I would call the mystery, right? Yeah. The as yet clarified.
Yep.
And it's one of the ways that, at the risk of sounding egoic, so people often reflect back to me like, wow, you're really authentic. And I know what they're pointing to. Like in 1 minute, I can be swearing and saying something horrible about your mother with comedic effect. And 2 minutes later, we can be talking about something and I will literally have tears running down my face because I resonate so deeply with what's being shared right now.
Yeah.
And I don't withhold. I don't hold back from that. And I can allow that range of emotion to come through me in a way that I don't get in its way because I'm like, and I'm going to be as strong as I usually am. If you're uncomfortable with me crying or laughing, you better fucking check out, brother. Because this is just like, in my company, you're going to get like the range.
Yeah.
And after a short period of time, most people are like, that's really important to me to experience the range of someone.
Yep.
Not the cleaned up, like Good Housekeeping, like a magazine. Oh, here I am at my best. Because most of the time, you're just not. There are moments in our life where it all comes together and you're like, damn, I feel like I got my poop in a group and I'm ready to like put it out there. You got some good sleep, you ate, you maybe hung out with some people that you love and you feel full. But more often than not, we're moving hopefully in that direction. We're not there yet.
Yeah.
And so all the things that I would call self-care or self-love or radical self-respect, the irony is for some people, the uninitiated, let's go with that. People that are just listening to us now, they're thinking, but wait, you're talking about, like some of these things can be misconstrued. In fact, my brother reflected back to me like, that's nice. Who's got the money to do, and then inserted all the things that I offer to the world.
Yeah.
Because for him, it feels like those are luxuries. And for me, it's an investment in how integritous I believe my physical, mental, emotional, and spiritual vessel can be if I take care of it.
Yep.
And so even though for some it's a difficult connect the dots, I hope to make it simple for them. If you can learn how to love yourself, and we don't want to go to, or we don't need to go to, like, look at me, aren't I sexy? Aren't I the best thing ever? It's more that I've taken care of myself in such a way that I know I'm cared for.
Yeah.
By me. And it's a slow practice to build on. But sauna is so many layers of this care and respect for oneself. And then the great joy is that you're doing it with other people, some of which are more conscious or less conscious of how deep the self-care can run. And yet it still happens.
Yeah. Talk to me a little bit about you've really drove home why sauna fits so well in your practice, because you have yoga at multiple different levels, hot yoga, yin,
restorative.
You're doing so many different versions with great teachers. You got float tanks, you got massage, you have people doing really important work. And yet you've talked about this sort of like accessibility to sauna that is like, all you have to do is be willing. Talk more about that.
Yeah. I mean, for me, that is one of the biggest points of excitement. That's really the way to say it, is that given my desire to help people get on the self-care healing track, one of the things about sauna that is mind-blowing is how accessible it is. There is literally no barrier to entry. Whereas with any fitness concept, the very first thing you'll hear, especially if you talk to a fitness entrepreneur, they'll be like, 80% of my time is spent convincing the person that needs my service desperately that they should avail themselves of it because they have a mindset like, I need to lose weight first, or I need to get more flexible first, or I need to get healthier first, or I need to hydrate more first, or they always put a self-imposed barrier in front of it. And they're like, when I finally, because of course this is the deep sell of the if-then paradigm. If I get healthy, then I can go to a yoga class. Well, hey, dummy, the only way you're going to get healthy is to go to the blah, blah, blah.
Yeah.
For sauna, we have people in a wheelchair that come.
Yeah.
Just the other day, I had a woman who broke her ankle on crutches come. Just if you can breathe and you have an awareness in the body, we'll get your ass in there and we'll get your ass out of there.
I love telling people about how it is the lowest impact cardio workout you can do. And you literally have to just sit down and rest on that bench and your heart's going to start going.
So I had someone the other day have that eye-opening moment when I explained all the benefits. Vasodilation, vasoconstriction, increased heart rate variability. Like, I can go on with the verbal diarrhea of how amazing sauna is. And for some people, it's really important to hear that. And yet, literally, all you do is sit in there, walk out of there, go get a little cool, walk back in there, walk out of there, or roll out of there, or crutch your way out of there. And she was like, so I could do this and my heart would be better? And I was like, yeah, It was a real wow moment for her. And I was like, yeah. And then literally a month later, she said she now uses that as part of her workout regime. So for her, she had to frame it that way to give herself permission. But she wears a Whoop. And the Whoop told her exactly what I told her.
Not sponsored by Whoop, but
no, we're
Whoop,
not.
Come on. We're happy to run some Whoop ads on this episode.
Come talk to me. I'll take your money.
But I mean, that's it. And so many people put sauna in this. They've heard some headline that says detox and sweat, right? So that's all it is, oh, I had too many drinks last night. I'm going to go do that. Or I'm going to go sweat it out, sweat off my hangover, right?
Let's not ignore that. That's a deep truth.
But to me, it's like, yes, and that's like wellness benefit number 17 on the list.
Easily way down the list. Way down the list.
And I love that for you guys, there's this experience of it within community. So it's not just I'm in here to biohack. I'm in here for my heart rate variability. Though those things are also true, you also have a community of people coming every week, being a part of this. And now there's a new way for them to be in a space together and connect and talk. To unpack that a little bit.
We've radically shifted. If you want to talk about seeds of change, right? Or a sea change. When people come to sauna at Kodawari, and I believe it's true anywhere you do this practice, we start to see first the most obvious thing. Don't bring your iPhone or your laptop, or you can't bring it in. It's a bad idea with your expensive shit. Don't do it.
The batteries literally aren't rated for the temps that you're about to walk into. You're going to avoid your warranty. So set the digital thing aside.
But we say that in one sentence, I'm setting my digital thing aside. Yeah, you just put down something that is literally starting to enmesh itself in your habitual behavior to the degree that we know it's slipping toward addictive qualities, that people are anxious if they don't have their phone on them, and to unlearn anxiety. Like, wow, not only am I okay without my phone for an hour, but I have a different sense of myself that's positive is a big deal. Mm-hmm. But additional to that, in the setting at Kodawari, our leads, myself, invite people to share experiences and, you know, some of these leading questions, like, when was the last time you were on a dirt road? And then someone shares and I'm like, well, who was with you? And why were you there? And what did you see? And suddenly you've got this incredible experience being shared by, in my case, 10, 12 people plus the lead. And now someone knows, and this actually happened. I asked the question about, you know, your favorite first or favorite pet. And we ended up with this long story where this guy shared on one time, he shared the story about how his pet, his dog, Skippy, came into his life. Classic, mm-hmm. Right? Great, seemingly simple. 2.5 or 3 weeks later, I asked a different pet related, like, just, you know, tell me a little bit about your pet. And someone in the sauna was with this guy again and said, yeah, I remember you told the story about Skippy. And I can tell you, like, I'm probably going to cry just retelling it to you. This guy's face, he's in his late 30s. He's a very successful individual. I watched his whole body and his face just shift, and he turned and he looked at this guy and he was like, and I heard his voice waver. And it just was this moment where, like, he knew that someone remembered something that for him was so important in his life as a young man. And he was like, you remember Skippy? And the guy was like, yeah, man, that was a really great story, how Skippy, you know, your dad, and he remembered some of the details. And this guy was like so deeply moved that I know that in that moment he felt seen and heard and recognized. And he knew that somebody else knew something about him that mattered, that wasn't his money or his car or his fucking Rolex or some random thing that can be stolen from you. Mm-hmm. But this experience about his dad, his dog, somebody really knew him. And as a result, like, he was different. He was a richer human being in that moment. And I got to witness it between two men, by the way. Yeah. So this doesn't happen very often. Yep. 2 months later, this same guy, when I said, what are you grateful for? He said, and by the way, we had just done a howling exercise. So I know, like, I make people make noises because vocalization is so releasing in the body. So we like curled in and then leaned out and howled like dogs. And the whole thing, you know, you're howling and woo, 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 and doing, it's goofy. And I do goofy stuff like that because it really shifts the energy. Yeah. And he was laughing, like, from his bum all the way up. And he just said to me, to the group, I'm grateful for this. Mm-hmm. He's like, I'm laughing so hard right now. Where do we howl? You know, and this is a guy on the cusp of his 40s. And he just said, you know, he was like, there's no place like this where I can really just be myself. And, you know, of course I'm leading, and thank God I was sweating like a whore in church because I was also crying, you know, because it's reflected back to me that it matters in the way that I think it does. Yeah. And I was like, wow. And so there are things like that happen where you just, because you're not on the phone, you're not rushing to the next thing, you start to make a real authentic connection with someone. And that someone's you. You with you. And then you know who you are, and you get to offer that to the people in the room. And I know, because people tell me in different ways, that is it. This thing has forever changed me. Yeah. And it's just a hot box. Yep.
in the most simple ways, it's this thing that cultures have across the world. You know, we're talking about sauna from the Nordic tradition, but we can look at Turkish hammam and Korean jjinjingbaum and Native American sweat lodge and Russian banya, right? Like, people have been figuring out that hot and cold are good for us.
Amazing.
And good for community. And the thing that you're talking about is so countercultural, especially to sort of the American cultural narrative, right?
Yeah. All about the
especially-
individual.
And especially for men,
Yes.
I would say, is this spend the majority of your life gaining power, status, money, you know, add all the things. How seldom is it for a man like that to be in a room where he isn't defined by his title, his role, his car, his accumulations?
Isn't there a Finnish maxim in the sauna, everyone's an equal?
Indeed.
Did I get it right?
Yeah, my favorite Finnish proverb is, all people are created equal, but nowhere more so than in the sauna.
That's it. Thank you.
And you've
Better
just
said.
You literally have to sort of leave those things at the door.
Yeah.
You know, you're in there and you're sweating with whoever's next to you. Maybe it's the lawyer, maybe it's the doctor, maybe it's the teacher, maybe it's, you know, somebody who's been down on their luck, whatever those titles are.
Doesn't matter.
Doesn't matter when you're in that room.
No, not at all. And you find out a lot about yourself that has nothing to do with your title.
Yep.
So you can think you're Bobby Big Shits, you know, like, oh, you know, my most recent upgrade on blah, blah, blah. And then you come into the heat and you're like, I think I'm dying.
Need a break. And why is this person in here like doing great? And they're like, oh, they've been doing this a while.
Yeah.
Right?
It is a practice. I mean, of course it gets, again, but this is the whole, we'll go circle back to the resiliency that you create on your personal edge. Your edge starts to be further out from where it originally began. And so your capacity to be centered and to be unwavering in yourself starts to become a wider, deeper, more easily accessible when you want it. Experience of yourself.
Yeah.
Because you're like, and not that this has to be the thing. I just spent, you know, yesterday I was in a 180 degree sauna and then 40 degree water, 3 rounds. And I know that I can move through feeling anxious, being uncomfortable. I can watch it change. I can honor myself. I know where my edge is. I know when I have to call it. And so one of the things that happens, again, I'm sure this happens everywhere, but I can only speak to until yesterday. Now I've been in your sauna and man, that shit was tight. It's just so beautiful. But at Kodawari, you know, we have 2 layers, a high bench and a low bench.
Yeah.
And then there's a couple hot spots.
Yeah.
So people circulate through those spaces on purpose.
Yeah.
So some people will be, and man, again, it talk courage and vulnerability. Sometimes the dudes start up high and then they have to tap out to get down to a lower bench so they can stay with the experience. And you watch this go from, I feel like shifting is a weakness to shifting is intelligence. And that practice
That's big.
is a big practice.
Yep.
So you watch, and it's not just men, women too, or the they and the them, all of it. Whomever is like, initially, I'm going to sit on the top bench and I'm going to take the heat.
Yep.
They watch their own body and they start to identify, I can stay with this, but I got to taper it back a hair. I can stay with this, but I need a time check. They'll start to understand, what are the things that I need to do to modulate my capacity to enhance? So modulation means enhancement. How can what are the tools or the skills that I need to cultivate so I can stay on the edge longer with more fullness?
Yep.
And it's not weakness, it's intelligence. And when I watch that, I get pretty excited.
Yeah.
Anyway, I get very excited.
Because so much of the culture around sport and wellness involves competition.
And this is an antithesis to that.
Right? And the goal is not how long can I handle it? Can I be the last one on the top bench? Can I stay? Can I handle the most steam? I see that happen. I see that as the Americanized
response.
Yes. Hey, okay, this is a new way to challenge myself. I'm going to challenge better than you. But
it's a knee-jerk thing, and guess what? You end up alone. Because the practicing community is that's enough for now.
Yep.
I want to be able to come back in for the second and the third round and be radiantly with it for number 2 and number 3 round. And I'm going to translate this level of radiance to the rest of my workday. So again, for me, this is an empowerment practice that looks from, if you just peek through the door, it looks like discipline, but it's a gentle discipline. And it's understanding how to shift from I'm a toughie to this is my vernacular, I'm a moose, man. I just can keep moving all the way across Canada if I want to and back again.
Yep.
Because I know how to regulate myself, and I know what radiance feels like, and I know what feeling depleted feels like. And occasionally we deplete and we're like, well, dang, I'm depleted. I can't show up. I can't, and so there's no reason not to push once in a while to find out, does this deplete me, or do I still have something left to give? But that's not the everyday. I don't believe we're organized to run out. We're organized to run on.
Yeah.
And so for me, sauna practice, because it is so accessible to everybody, you just, it's never ending in its return on the investment. And then each day it's also slightly different. Someday you want to start on the low bench because you're like, I just need to get here. Right? I've been running. I need to get here. So you get here. And then you're like, oh, I want a little more heat. I'm going to bake this shit. And then you go up a level.
Yeah.
For maybe the second round and back down for the third.
And you've described ritual, you've described practice, you've described hot and cold and doing rounds. And I think so often.
And don't forget hydration.
Yes. Come on. Hot, cold, rest, rehydrate, repeat. Do that multiple times.
Yeah, it's a rinse cycle. Get it right.
And I think so often in the wellness communities, it just gets lumped in with how long can I last, right? And if it's that, it's your edge pushing is just how long can I handle in there without that modulation, without that non-competitive spirit, without the, Yeah,
but there's the mistake of individualism again. Like, oh, it's all about me. I recently read something that just lit me up, which is that a really big portion of our neural network, the literal nervous system in the brain, is only comes online in community. Which is to say, this is a really, and I'm just starting to think about this, so reserve the right to revise, but I think that we want to start to open the concept of our intelligence to, wow, my mind is just running, but the idea that maybe we're a portion of a brain that only comes into being in the collective. And so the peak of our intelligent expression happens in community. So hive mind, not herd mind, which is the herd mind is like, where do I conform? Where do I fit in? How do I impress people?
Yep.
That's not where we're headed. The hive mind, which is where we understand both our uniqueness and that demand for the unique to contribute to the whole so that it becomes this tapestry of capacity.
Yep.
And so in sauna, you literally are in this rhythm of hot, cold, breathing, hydrating, being with, opening up to flux and flow and all of that, those pieces where as a result of the physical practice, the mental, emotional, and the spiritual facets get polished. And we become more capable of unimpeded light to come through us.
Now, if that is true, what has sort of adding sauna to your studio done for the community, right? In those individuals, but maybe also sort of just 10,000 feet as you look, hey, this has been imbued here for 8-9 months now. We've developed a culture. We've developed leaders to help operate the space. It's not just you. There's a guide in there, just like a yoga studio. It's not just, here's an amenity, go stop in.
No, not at all.
Right? What's that done for the community?
I would say we've experienced a radical acceleration of what I had always intended anyway, which is people know and they feel it in their bones, a level of safety. Like this is a place where people care about me caring about me. They care about one another. Tampa's can be sometimes, it depends on your perspective, of course, your lens. It can be a tough town because there's lots of pretty people in Tampa and people spend a lot of time working on being pretty.
Yeah.
And of course, that strikes for me a level of superficiality, and this can come through as a spiritual thing. If we overinvest in the skin bag, you're likely underinvesting in the energy that comes through the skin bag. And
beautiful words right there. Yeah.
And somewhere along the way, the skin bag's going to change in ways. It's inevitable. It's part of the story. It's part of the mythology of what it is to be a human. There's a rising and a falling, a coalescence. So here's my personality. I'm coalesced. Here's me at death. I release the breath and I am back into the ocean. I'm no longer a distinct wave, because that's how I understand. That's my spiritual understanding. Like the ocean is the ocean. And then there's these beautiful waves that have a certain life cycle on the surface. And then as the wave crashes and it's no longer distinct, it's now part of the ocean. But man, is it fun being a wave. And it's tough to let go of your waveness. But if you don't recognize that your wave is going to pass, let's call it, you might overinvest in what your wave looks like and miss what it feels like to be on the surface, affected by wind and air and fishes and dolphins and sharks and all the cool coral and the shit that happens. But
and in Tampa, in Tampa Bay, and on the Gulf,
we are.
You feel that. That's a good analogy. And also, it does produce this level of so much of my energy is towards
superficiality.
Yep.
And yet, even the people that are really tied into the superficial are desperately longing for connection.
Yeah.
Because their brain and heart wave is organized for it, and they're seeking it. And when they find it, and sauna for Kotowari has accelerated the awareness that it's here.
Yeah.
So for anyone that's in the fitness world, it's such a beautiful augmentation to what you're already doing, and it only accelerates the uptake of the second or the third arm or element of what it is you want to offer the world, because it's complementary to. And so for us, I've seen people come for sauna that wouldn't come for yoga, back to why? Because it has no barrier to entry.
Yeah.
So the person that would be like, I can't go to a yoga studio. I'm fill in the blank, too tall, too short, I'm not flexible. I'm not strong. I'm not healthy. They come for sauna. And then they're like, hey, this place is cool. And people seem to be at ease with one another. And like, they may not register in the words that I'm using right now. Like, it feels safe here. I have had people say like, I feel safe here, which is like a crying compliment. Like I will cry when I get that compliment.
Well, when I was there, I heard people describe that space as their church, describe that place as their community, describe that place as
Sangha.
Yeah. The space where they are known. Right. And these are all the things we hope for. Like the good wellness entrepreneurs who are caring more than just about the bottom line. Not that we don't care about it.
No, I have no poverty mentality.
Right?
We need to make money.
Yeah.
And there is no reason to not do well in the world when we're doing wellness. So don't kid yourself.
Yeah.
Like, we make this thing make profit.
Yep.
Right? It's got an ROI, and I'm hardcore about this has got to make money. And some people find that on occasion, they're like, well, how can you be so spiritual? I have no reason to suffer around money. Like, why should we do that? If we're doing good work, we should make good money. I'm not disgusting with the money. Like, I want to make it accessible, and I also don't need to give it away.
Yep.
Right? Like, if it just so happens somehow I make a ridiculous amount of money, maybe, but we're not there yet.
Yep.
So for me, the idea that this has definitely got a prong to it that is about what is the practical application, financial feasibility. Why does this work?
Yep.
Because it reduces that barrier to entry, and then it exposes people that would never come through my yoga door, my massage door, my chiropractic door, my float pod door. They come and they do sauna because there's no reason they can't.
Yep.
And then they're like, wow, all right, you got all this other stuff here? Yes, I do. Would you like to buy some? Please.
Yeah.
And thank you.
Yep. Because, and it's buy it because we're bringing you value, because we know, and we know why it's good for you.
That's right.
And the people who acknowledge that, they begin to realize, like, we have something to offer to the world, and the world wants to pay for that. Like, it would in some ways.
It's not even pay. It's make the investment in.
Yeah.
Because even though you as a client might not think, but I wish you would, because it would make it even more apparent. This is an investment that has an ROI. Have you priced cancer or illness or feeling like shit, right? That's got a price tag on it.
Yep.
So tell me about what it feels like when you're radiant and you're ready to take on the world, and you're like, you know what? I'm not perfect, but man, I got more than 80% going on because I made the investment every day to do simple things. Get better sleep, be more hydrated, put my portion of my collective brain into the collective. I ate well. I made an investment in regenerative farming in my local community. I could go on and on. And we both know, because here it is, this is the best time to do it. You do sauna 4 times a week, your all-cause mortality tanks by 40%, which means you don't die of an accident. You don't slip on the friggin' ladder and fall off and boink on your head and you're gone. Yep. Because you did as a result of sauna. Sorry to be so excited. I know I'm telling somebody that already knows.
I love it. And the people are listening are like, what? Say more.
Yeah. So you get better sleep.
Yep.
You poop better. Your colon works better. You have fresher looking skins, which may mean you get laid. Never say no to the right person at the right time for the right reason. But like, you're more radiant, you sleep better, you poop better, you hydrate. Everything about all systems of the body work better.
Yep.
And as a result, you literally can have a higher quality of life for a longer period of time.
Yeah. And especially as folks age, it's harder to stay moving. It's harder to be moving those joints. And sauna is a practice that we already said, one, is low impact.
Yeah.
And it gets rid of some soreness in your joints. I mean, I watch folks walk in and they're like, I haven't felt this kind of pain relief in my back and my arthritis and my joints
in my
months,
bum, knee, bad elbow. Yeah. Yeah.
Not to over,
don't overpromise.
I want to be careful not to like make it seem like this is just a panacea, right? Like this is the cure all. But I also think the data is proving what centuries of cultural wisdom have also proven right now. And so it's a fun time to be talking about these things and to be working with you, who I think is like, you're an innovator. You're pioneering in literally Tampa, Florida. People don't think, every time I talk about, we have this amazing partner in Tampa, Florida, they're like, why? First question, why would they need sauna there?
Because sauna is Sauna holds true wherever it is.
Yeah.
This hot, cold contrast, this, all the things that we've talked about, community, all the physiological effects, all the social, psychological. Sorry, I was stumbling on that one. But all of it adds up. I don't care where it is. In fact, you and I joke about this a little bit. I dropped my sauna right next to the dumpster, and behind the dumpster, now the dumpster's gated in so you don't see it, but I know it's there.
Yep.
And I'm like, okay, heretofore, this was parking lot and the space behind the dumpster. And I turned it into a profit center where I use a multi-level healing modality in the middle of basically space that other people would put a shed.
Say that again for the people in the back. You've taken the parking lot and the dumpster and turned that into a revenue generating space for your business.
Yeah. So it literally, I'm just now starting to quantify the bottom line because, of course, just like anything else, there's an initial investment. And then, of course, you figure out, well, shit, I actually now have to buy more towels and I need this thing. And in order to make the flow of the practical, applicable, what is there's a specific business word for this, but it's basically, how do I get the client to get what they need and then go do the thing that they're going to do and then bring it all the way back? There's a flow chart, basically. So, okay, we had to make some investments, but I did it still. I didn't shift where it was. It's in the corner of my parking lot in a space that isn't actually a parking spot, technically. Of course, people would park there. And then the backside of the dumpster, I built a little staging thing initially out of pallets. This is how janky I can be. But I was like, we're going to put
Scrappy.
Yeah, scrappy. Thank you. So I was like, we'll, and then we went and bought from Tractor Supply Company 100-gallon horse water tanks. And I was like, those are going to be cold plunges. And, I was like, this thing has to happen here. So I didn't care. I was going to figure out a way.
Yeah.
And so we did. And now one of my stronger profit centers is the backside of the dumpster and the unused parking spot.
I love it.
Me too. And,
So what do you see for, if you're talking to wellness entrepreneurs like yourself, like others, right? I mean, let's think into the future here a little bit. I have a sense that we're on the cusp. The wave is growing. People are finding out about this. What's the future look like for this, for you and maybe broader?
Yes. So I would say the yoga industry, when I sort of started to think I want to run my own business, there are a number of steps that preceded actually doing it, of course. About 10 or 11 years worth of investment in a variety of things that then culminated in the manifestation of an actual physical space. Those 10 or 11 years were tracking essentially, not in a hardcore Excel spreadsheet way, but I was watching the rise of yoga as a viable modality that was creating a range of services that ran from donation-based to boutique. And the donation-based to boutique is now a $17 billion industry utilized by a full tenth of America. They leave their homes to come to a yoga studio.
Yep.
And it's growing, and it's going to continue to grow. And I believe that the trajectory for sauna is exactly the same, if not a greater number, potentially, because of that low barrier.
Yeah.
The accessibility is so high. And again, you can also play with sauna and the cold plunge, how you do cold, how intensely you do hot, how much family, like on our end right now, we're not there yet because we're only 8 months in, but I believe there's an opportunity to address communal issues with this. So like, the people that identify as they and them, and or the LGBTQT, I want to make sure to get it right. I think it's IA, to have a standalone segment where for 2 or 3 hours, it's open to this community to come in and identify with one another and feel that all the things that I discussed. There's also a space perhaps for in the future, a donation based, 2 hours where there's back-to-back sauna. And if you just want to come in and, you're like, I'm not really part of the fitness world at all, but I want to do this thing. So, I hope to be able to extend the points of inclusion.
Yeah.
And or a family, family night where we keep it at 140 on purpose so that 8-year-olds can be in there.
Yep.
Because of course
my 6-year-old loves it.
Yeah.
I think what I'm hearing you talk about, and I think about this a lot, is people sometimes see the sauna as one static thing or experience. And I have had so many different types of experiences while in or while practicing sauna.
Well, you pointed to it last night when we were together in the Duluth flagship.
Mm-hmm.
You were in conjunction with a hotel, sort of offer guests a little more flex and flow that's for their need state.
Yep.
And it's a little like, and again, some of this is also driven by the climate, the season, the latitude, longitude where this sauna is located. I'm a little more rigid in Florida because we run it more like a session. It's a class. You have you've chosen a little more flexibility so people can come in and go out as they wish. Whereas I've got 10 or 12 or 14 people. We enter and we exit together. Mm-hmm. I'm herding cats, man. Mm-hmm. They're good cats. So they usually comply. And then there's obviously my energy, like, get out, get in, get out, get in.
The analogy starts breaking down when you bring the cats into the cold plunge, by the way, but I love it. And it's right. I mean, you have set up a structure, but that structure
is one of many. It doesn't have to be that way. Mm-hmm. And yet that's what I work well with, that level of structure.
I liken it to a meal at a table. I think the sauna is the table. We come to sit at the table. The dish in which we enjoy, the meal, the food, the drink, that is the experience that we set up. Mm-hmm. Right? And so I've had gregarious, communal, connected sauna experiences. Mm-hmm. You're meeting new people or you're with your deepest loved ones and it's great. I've had moments of silence and solitude like I never knew I could. I'm the
meditative.
I'm the high extrovert who doesn't like the silence, but I know it's good for me. But sauna was the first place that helped me hack my physical body to get into the
that
silence,
quiet.
Right?
Mm-hmm.
And so you're talking about, hey, well, there's this very guided practice that is hot and cold, and we have a instructor walking you through like a class. Amazing. And you're going to have your folks that want a more meditative experience. You're going to want the first weekend when we were there, you were talking to some of your guides. Hey, we need to eventually do sauna and journaling and meditation. We need to do sauna and vocalization and journaling. We need to, find your smaller pockets of the community and serve them really well with this.
Well, let me just say again to any fitness entrepreneur that's listening. So I've already got multiple workshops built around. So for instance, I have a couple women that want to do a gua sha and sauna. So this way of doing a whole face self-care, skin care. I just did what I called a spiritual spa session where we do dry brushing, a salt scrub, clay mask, all prior to going into the sauna. Mm-hmm. And then we do the sauna and then we go and do a Reiki session. Now it's 3 hours. I charged $185 for that experience.
Filled up. Yep.
In fact, I had to adjust it so that I could allow the people that wanted to come. So and then I've got another person that's like, we're going to do a new moon and a full moon sauna thing that we'll sell as a subscription.
Mm-hmm.
Right? So the way in which you can dovetail sauna into other modalities is as yet, for my mind, which is moves pretty quickly, endless.
Yeah.
So again, not that this isn't an attempt to sell sauna. I'm just saying you want something that's complementary, that opens the door, that's accessible, that makes it easy. And yeah, you can put a nice price tag on it because, brother, you're going to spend some good money up front to get it right. Because again, you can, and this is me, now I am going to step into Cedar and Stone's wheelhouse and like put it forward.
You don't have to, but
I'm going to do it anyway, which is you can get a sauna anywhere and they'll be of varying qualities. So let's just state the obvious. You want top quality build, you need to talk to these people. You want something that you're like, I'll start with something that just happens to get hot. Okay, try it. See how it works. It's not going to deliver what you need it to deliver. I am definitely someone who price shopped, and I also looked around, and I wanted the assurance that if I was going to spend the money, I was going to get the quality. I got that with you guys. The bonus is this experience also, right? Like for me, I would count you as a friend now. Yeah. It's not just somebody, you're not a business acquaintance. But that's because I think we resonate on a multitude of layers about what it is we're doing here.
Yeah.
The sauna itself, like you just made the analogy, it's the table at which no body is excluded. So everybody can come to the table, and on the table, the sauna, you can create whatever unique experience you want, and it'll feed your people. So you want to feed your people with Reiki or moon ceremonies or, the LGBTQIA group. And if I made a mistake with that, I apologize. I'm not real smart sometimes. You want it to be a brotherhood experience. You want it to be a sisterhood experience. You want it to be families. It's all there. Those dishes can be put on that table.
Yep.
However you want.
Yep.
Now, whether or not you buy a quality table, you want your table to be a little fucking shaky?
Yeah.
Spend $10.
You can buy something that'll maybe get a little warm, and you're gonna have to buy a new table in a couple of years.
Yeah.
I think
it's just worth saying.
It is worth saying.
It's worth saying thank you.
Now talk about
for quality.
I do want to dive in on that if we're talking about it. You previously had bought a infrared sauna.
Yep.
And that and then you also came to us. Okay, so thumbs down if you're listening just in the headphones. Now talk about that, because to me, I think there are maybe some uses for infrared. I think the medical data there's not as much of it comparatively to more traditional methods of heat. The infrared companies like to say, like to tout the stat that you just said about all-cause mortality coming down. What they don't like to say is, well, that was done on specific groups of people who were doing that with very, high levels of heat, quality heat, wood-fired or electric, but not infrared. So talk a little bit about that for people, because immediately people are like, well, great, I got an infrared, or I can go pick one of those up for super cheap.
Again, I'm not going to poo-poo or piss on your starting point. That might be your starting point. It was for us, right? Like my personal sauna practice started when I went to massage school in 2003. And it was an electric heater, but a proper sauna. Yeah. Benches, the whole 9 yards. And it took me 10 years to get to a place where I could have a sauna in my own backyard. Yeah. So that was 2013. And I've been practicing, and that also was an electric heater. And then I bought the infrared for the studio, thinking, like, I so badly want sauna as part of my community offering, as part of the offering. We spent some good money on it, not in comparison to for two reasons. I just want to make this comparison. The infrared was good for two people at most. Mm-hmm. And so it didn't do what I needed it to do. Like I've made lots of successful failures. The infrared was a successful failure.
Yeah.
Right idea, wrong application, wrong tool. So it didn't go anywhere. And then I started, and a little bit of it was prompted by the whole COVID experience, which is, luckily I live in Florida, which takes its own unique perspective to business and viruses. Mm-hmm. We'll sidestep some of the complexity of what could be a very difficult conversation on many fronts. And yet it has to be said that part of why I went shopping for what we ultimately created was I know that above 140, the viruses can't live.
Yeah.
Literally break down. And I was like, and I wanted my sauna to be mobile in case I needed to really readjust my economic model. And so
in case you have a retreat.
And retreats are a big thing. So, mm-hmm. That's quite possibly going to be the second purchase I make from you. Okay, it'd be the third because I'm buying chillers. But anyway, the idea that this would be a part of a retreat cycle is a huge thing. Yeah. And literally, I mean, retreating from the world and doing that, go deeper, go more internal, sauna, that table has got to be at that setting.
Yeah.
With this being said, the infrared just didn't take off. No one really bought into it. And we tried to sell it. I made the purchase of the Nordic sauna, and it's been explosive in its growth.
Yeah.
And the infrared just wasn't going to do all the things that I've spoken with such passion about prior to right now. So the Nordic sauna, not only did it change even my experience, so I have had since 2013 a sauna that was a kit with an electric heater, mm-hmm. and I was sauning pretty regularly 3, 4, 5 times a week at 180 to 200 degrees.
Yeah.
Because it was me and a couple friends. And I was like, we really have to do this at the studio. So then I went and started my research. And I'm kind of, sometimes I have a big brain and I really want to follow things out. So I ended up with you. And we had, some of the, what I would call difficult conversations. You said right up front, this is going to be an expenditure because you're going to get quality. And it's going to be a different level of heat and you're going to have a different experience. And I can only tell you about it, but until you experience it, you're going to have to take it on faith. And immediately I resonated with your sort of the way in which you presented and how you talked about it and what you were making a commitment to. And then the damn thing came and you were right, which I'm super overjoyed about that. So my home sauna now gets use maybe once or twice when essentially I want to be naked and alone.
Yeah.
Because I try not to hoist that on the unsuspecting. The Nordic sauna that is at Kodawari that you guys built is just a superlative experience that is unrivaled. The way the thermal mass of the stones of the Hume stove that is wood-fired, mm-hmm. the wood-fired experience, the smell, what in yoga is known as bhava, the energetic of the contextual experience is so high. It's going to take me 18 months to make a return on the investment. And that's a really good, strong, I think that's a great ROI to look at something coming back to you in under 2 years, mm-hmm. To know that.
Well, and it's doing all these communal returns for that the sort of infrared in the corner closet with maybe 1 or 2 people
was never going to touch.
Yeah. I mean, you have people buying, you told me about this. You have people starting to buy the unlimited subscription for sauna.
Yep.
Tagging that onto their experience. They're coming 5 times a week.
Now, that we have people that do every day that we offer. Right now, the only day we don't offer is on Monday.
Yeah.
I have people coming at 7 a.m. on a Wednesday, and they did the Tuesday night with me at 5:45 or 7 p.m. I have people that do 2 sessions back to back because they just can't get it. Literally, I know it seems impossible. They can't get enough of it, which tells me again that we're doing the right thing, because for someone to make an investment of essentially, our sessions are an hour in length. So, 15 minutes to get there, to get your change on, 15 minutes to get changed after and get out into the world. So if you do 2 back to back, that's like 2.5 hours of your life.
And in
people
American
give
culture,
it happily.
time is such a commitment, right? And that is, sauna is not convenient. And I think as we sort of foil this against the infrared model, it's sort of the fast food version, right? It is. Maybe it is the gateway drug, but I've not experienced people begin to love high quality steak by the microwavable dinner version. They have steak on the grill. They have grass-fed beef. They have, you know what I mean? Like, you give them the quality and they're raving about it.
Yeah, absolutely. And again, I have also witnessed people that have infrared or have home saunas that they've, like myself, have a kit or they did whatever. And then they're like, again, I'm sorry if they're like, fuck, this is so different. This is so much better.
Yeah.
And I'm like, I'm so obnoxious. I'm so bougie now. I'm like, yeah, I know. Tried to tell you.
But you're like bougie about good things. You're like bougie about good food and wine.
Yeah.
And now you're a little bit of a sauna snob.
Yeah, just a touch.
But like, you don't carry a bougie mentality into your studio that this is only, I mean, you're talking in the same breath about how this is the table that everybody gets a seat at.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah.
No, thank you for that. I mean, it's just that once you have a taste of quality, if you've had the great good fortune to go, what is it, to like a Four Seasons hotel, you're not going to go to the Howard Johnson and be like, this is awesome.
Right. Yep.
I mean, it works. If you got to stay at Howard Johnson or what is it, we'll leave the light on or wherever.
Yeah, Motel 6.
Yeah, that. So
again, not sponsored by.
No, sorry to any of that. But, the reality is, at least for me, is once you get a taste of how good it can be, you're like, I want that again. And that's Cedar and Stone.
Annette, how can people find you? If they're wanting to hear more, if they're wanting to get connected, we've done some video, we've done a whole bunch of collab marketing together and stuff. So it's not hard, but where do they need to go to find your stuff?
Our website is kodawaristudios.com. Our Instagram, you want to find us on the gram?
Yeah. What's your handle?
Yeah, my handle. Oh my God. Find me at Kodawari_studios on the gram. And then you can actually follow me. I'm all right. I don't post a ton. So if you're like,
it's entertaining.
Yeah, there are moments. Annette K. Scott on Instagram. And then our Facebook, same thing, Annette K. Scott and Kodawari Studios.
Yeah.
So you can find us there. It's not bad. We're out there.
Annette, if we can do sauna in the cold of Duluth and the sunshine and sweltering heat of Tampa, we can do it anywhere.
Yeah, absolutely. That's so true. Everybody, everywhere.
And what a joy. Thanks for being with us in Duluth. This is just going to keep going.
Yeah.
We got lots ahead. You guys, thanks for being with us. We'll see you next time.
Amen.
Here we go.
Bye.
Well, Sarah,
Are y'all good?
y'all good? After
okay?
that, it was
Just
good.
checking in.
Here's the tissue.
Yeah.
And I mean, when I hear Annette talk in the same conversation about the transformational, like, community development benefits, as well as she took the parking lot dumpsters and turned them into a revenue generator for her business. That's the good stuff. Like, there's both things happening, right? Yeah. It's not just, hey, woo-woo life transformation, like, I believe in that stuff about this. And yet, Annette's somebody who, as an entrepreneur, is literally pushing this culture forward also as a business, which I think is just beautiful.
The vulnerability and authenticity of who she is and integrates it into the practicality of running that business.
Yep.
And it's just ingrained in everything.
It's so good.
It's so good.
If you are interested in what Annette's doing, you should really go check out Kodawari Studios, Tampa, Florida. Google them on all the things. Follow them on Instagram. Their IG is just fun and silliness all the time. For people from their community jumping in cold water, doing crazy yoga poses. It's really fun watching what they're doing. And they're thinking through how do we make the sauna space applicable and accessible for more people.
To everyone. One of my favorite moments in the episode was her talking about people who are in a wheelchair or on crutches, or people who aren't able to do other wellness practices absolutely can walk into the sauna and experience wellness with other people.
Yeah, all you need to do is be willing to enter that space.
Yeah, for sure.
You don't have to be worried about, can I do the hot yoga poses that they're doing up there? Yeah. So good, Annette. Thank you so much. You guys go find Annette and Kodawari Studios. And if this was helpful for you, if you liked what we're doing, please like, share, subscribe, write us a review on Apple Podcasts. And we would be just so thankful for all of what's going on here from the team here in Duluth, Minnesota at Sauna Culture. We are so excited. We'll see you on the next episode.
See you then.
All right.